Good evening. It is Wednesday, the 4th of September, 2024. It is 8 p.m. UK time, but it is noon PST time because that's the time zone my guest is in. This show's been put together quite quickly, actually. Last night, I was talking to ADP about his Big Weekender, which is a charity event coming on Twitch this weekend. And also, Double P was also putting together a mental health charity event, which is taking place 21st, 22nd of September. Now, between that, there's another event, another charity event called We Beat as One. I'm involved, Double P's involved, a few other, lots of DJs are involved. And this is in aid of the American Cancer Society. Now, cancer's a big part of our lives, and we've talked about it and its effects on some of my shows. So it's always great to get involved in charity events, but especially important ones. And so this is why I thought it'd be good to have DJ Frankie B on to explain what it's about, how it came together, what the charity is about, and a few other things. So anyway, here he is, DJ Frankie B.
Hey, Criztoz, thank you so much, man.
How you
Appreciate you
doing?
having me.
Thank you for. I know you got a busy schedule like most of us, but thank you for managing to sort of fit in an hour today to sort of get this because it's good to help promote, and any time that we're talking about events is a good thing, and hopefully it will help to sort of promote what is a very good event, and we'll come back to the event in a minute. But before that, any guest I have on the show, I always like to know how they first got into music, who their sort of earliest musical influences were, like their parents, brothers, sisters, friends, and what sort of music they were in. So, for you, who was it who first got you into music, and what sort of music and when, what age?
All right, so I'm gonna have to give a big shout out to my stepdad. He raised me. I had very young parents, and he was the one that always had different types of genres going on, from '90s rock to '90s rap to the East Coast hip hop to even a little bit of freestyle R&B and soul. So one thing that he's always taught me, at least at a very early age, is that you don't know where you're going to be, what's going to be happening, and what environment you'll be around. So if there's music playing that you don't always listen to, be open to it. And I think from starting that age of like 5, 6 years old, I was able to really just continue loving music in different genres and always just learning different things. And then got into dancing as well, which also helped with that.
You got into dancing.
Yeah. So actually in
What
third
sort of
grade,
what sort of dancing? I'm interested because my wife's a dance teacher and my daughter does dance. So yeah, I'm interested to hear.
So I was a very shy kid all the way up to about like 8 or 9, and then third grade talent show. I decided to do a talent show with my buddy. We were third grade, and we danced to ABC Aisha. It was our
Right.
early '90s, which I guess kind of sparked into this whole new character I was kind of forming into myself that I didn't know anything about. But mostly, kind of slightly b-boy status, or just doing some of the routines out there at that time in the '90s. Obviously, MTV was a big inspiration of learning new moves. But then slowly later on, I started to do more things like with house music and kind of house music dance.
That's amazing. That's really interesting, because obviously music is a big part of dance, and dance is a big part of music. So it's great that even from that sort of young age, you were sort of into that. I'm just going to say hello to a few people. We've got Ed Bond here. We have got Double P. We have got DJ Genie. We've got DJ Hydro. We've got DJ Stepdaddy. We've got Twitch Slaps. I think that's everyone. So yeah, welcome in everyone.
Yeah, hey
Um,
everyone. Hey, shout out to Hydro and Genie. I'm rocking their gear, actually vinyl right here on the T. Big love to both of them. Shouts out to Los Angeles.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's all cool. And we'll get to obviously the people who are involved because a lot of these people in the chat are part of the event. But yeah, so we've got to you sort of doing some dancing, obviously getting into music. When does it come that you start sort of record collecting or buying? I'm assuming record collecting. Is that where you started, or was it CDs or something later?
Yeah, so my first CD was parental advisory. It was Drew Down, actually, Pimp of the Year. That was my first CD. I was playing a lot of rap in kind of the Bay Area rap as well, and I want to say being introduced to rap, when I first started getting into record collecting, I had a buddy that I was in the talent show with. Actually, we remained friends forever. And probably in the ninth grade, I was introduced to turntables. He had some. We started DJing together. I never had any, records or anything. I was just playing on his turntables, learning. And then I was kind of in a phase of doing or learning about house music. And so I was going to a lot of raves in high school. I was going to a lot of underground raves at that. And so my first record was Flowers by Armand Van Helden. And
Wow.
that's where it really started for me in like 97, 98. Actually, my first record I purchased was that, but I had a crate of records that he gave me. Shouts out to Alfred and Rich, who actually gave out a big crate of records that I didn't purchase. And there was a mixed bag of things, hip hop, house, freestyle. But my first record I ever purchased was Armin van Helden, Flowers, one of my classic tunes. I still play it till this day. And yeah, man, I mean, that's really where it started. I want to say I started getting heavily into raves and started throwing my own actually in 98. And that's when it started to form with records.
Well, let's talk about what these raves. Obviously, we in the UK have raves as well, and we had them in sort of illegal parties and things like that. Tell us a little bit about the scene then. You know, was it the same sort of thing? Is it illegal parties that shouldn't have been going on, and what was the style of music?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from the night from like 91, 92 here in the Bay Area, there was going on with raves. It was way but a little bit before my time. But I want to say 96, 97 is when I started to kind of join and go into some of the undergrounds. We had here in Oakland, we had a kind of a legendary location called Home Base, where it was like 4 to 5, 6 different warehouse rooms. It was huge. It was massive. And within the style of music was definitely house and trance, jungle, different forms of, I guess, techno back then. But I feel like, majority of those raves that I was going to, the bigger rooms and the bigger name DJs were house and trance.
And is that why that was the bigger attraction for you? Is that why you sort of moved towards house and trance?
Yeah, I wasn't purchasing a lot of records, being so young. It was also trying to figure out, what's priority. And at that age, I was more about partying and dancing than buying a ton of records all the time. But I feel like, yeah, I mean, I was getting into house. I always was a disco buff since day one. I've always loved disco music. So the strings, the horns, the keys of things, it just always kind of had some type of things that resonated me musically. So naturally, I just loved house music because of disco house. So that's really where I started my journey of record collection. It was mostly house music, disco edits of or remakes of those tunes, and just musically kind of catching on to that and starting to learn about that.
And at this time, when you're sort of going to these parties, going to the raves, and you're buying some records, have you got a setup at home? Have you started DJing by this point, or is it purely just collecting and listening at this stage?
Yeah, so I guess 11th grade is when I got my first pair of turntables. They were the Gemini. I can't even remember. They were terrible. And it was a Gemini mixer. So I had those for quite some time, all the way through probably until I graduated high school. And then I ended up purchasing from my friend that gave me actually a deal on these turntables. I bought them for $600 for two of them back in like 1999 or actually 2000. 2000 is when I graduated. So yeah, it was about 2000. And that's really where I started to play. And funny thing is, in high school, 11th grade, 12th grade, even though I didn't own techniques, I was already throwing. Well, I had a group of us that were throwing underground raves. So every time I played, I was actually playing on for the first time on some decks for Techniques 1200s. I never owned any until like 2 years later. It was pretty crazy.
Wow, and we got a question from DJ Stepdaddy, who is saying, "Oh, not that one. Here's this one." He was saying, "Was it the DJ in a box?" You talked about the Gemini setup.
Yeah, so I have to. They were belt driven. I have to. I honestly, you just the pitch, and it was just like sped up so fast. It was terrible. I can't remember the actual model. I have to dig that one up, stepdaddy. I definitely want to see what that one is. I remember taking a picture of it and posting it on Facebook many years ago, but I'll have to revisit that.
Yeah. So you're DJing at these events, and you're saying compared to home, you're playing on Technics, and obviously, you're sort of learning and that. And then you said that you started throwing your own raves as well. So how did that come about?
Yeah, so had a little bit of a dance crew back then. We'd go out to a lot of the raves, and then we started to see like we're connected with a couple of people and started collaborating with a couple of people that we really didn't even know it, being so young and kind of naive. I felt like we had a lot more connections. If we were really serious about it, we probably could have done a lot better. But yeah, it's about 4 or 5 of us. We started our own little production company, doing some fly. I had some friends doing graphics. We had a handful of DJs, and so we just started obviously networking at these raves, and we started to basically throw small raves like 300 to 400 people, and then it started to gradually get bigger. I think our max was like probably 800 people. It wasn't like we were throwing massives, but we're definitely throwing things. It was pretty crazy. And again, this is the time where we're not even 18 yet. You know what I mean? We're like 16, 17, just about to be 18.
That's crazy. And at this time, were you just yourself and your friends DJing, or were you booking acts as well?
Yeah, so we were booking up some of a lot of local DJs that were headlining. Back then, we had like David Garcia, Joey Mazzola, DJ Denise, lots of people, St. John, people that were doing radio house music like House Nation on Friday nights. We actually used to hang out with some people that took us to the studio back then, and hung out on Friday nights at the studio in 94.9 way back when. So it's been interesting. I think back about it. I'm like, man, it was pretty fortunate to have that life at a young age. And I probably got more gigs being younger than I did when I was starting to get older, which was funny. But yeah, it was really fun, really great. Good times, long nights, and I guess, yeah, we enjoyed it.
Yeah, living the dream, as we say.
Yeah.
Definitely. So then how does that progress then? Does there come a time where you just move into sort of more official parties and carry on that way?
Yeah, so I started to play at clubs after kind of the rave scene was getting a little bit too like 99 2000 in the Bay Area at least, and probably in the West Coast in general. Raves were considered commercial in a sense. Radio shows were doing full massives. I mean, you're talking 20, 30,000 people showing up to concert venues and per se, and being there, right? So it started to get really out of control, and they started to crack down a lot about it. So I slowly started moving into 21 and up clubs, and I started playing in San Francisco, Oakland, and San Jose, all house music. So I had played at some legendary parties and venues back then, all the way until probably about 2002, 2003. I kind of started to lay off a little, trying to figure out what the next steps for me were, career wise. Mom was not having it, you know what I mean? And she was just like, "It's time to get a real job." I'm like, "All right." So
Right.
I took a step back and tried to see where it was going to go, and yeah, I started getting into what I'm doing today in kind of software development.
Cool. So then does there come a point where you get back into the music?
Yeah, so 2004, I probably hung it up. Like I was also not too fond of the digital world. I wasn't really making the move outside of records. I really loved going to record shops. I really loved having, bringing my crates and doing that. And so I want to say, 2004, I was doing a little bit of digital, and then I was also changing and figuring out where I wanted to be. But at the same time, I didn't lose passion for the music. I've always been a music buff, always listening to music 24/7 pretty much. But I was kind of filtering out that, and I was going out more with my friends, not really focused too much on DJing as much. But yeah, so I did some gigs throughout that time, like from 2003 or four So like 2010, I did a handful of gigs here and there, but nothing crazy. I wasn't even in the scene anymore. You know what I mean? I was more partying, to be honest, in my
Nice.
20s. So
Yeah, yeah, and I guess a lot of people's careers and DJ lives sort of go like that. You sort of do it a bit when you're young, and then sort of stop, and life takes over. And it's always there, isn't it? It's like it's like riding a bike. It's always there, and eventually, it's always going to get come back to you. I think if you've enjoyed DJ. So 2010, you sort of talked about. Well, what sort of happens from there, perhaps up to sort of before the pandemic?
yeah, so 2010 to probably 2015 or 16, I was just focusing on work, and I also had, so me and my wife, we actually have a blended family of 6 kids. So from 2012 we started dating, and that is just take that's priority, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
and that
six
that
kids. Yeah,
that life is a whole different world. So, for me, DJing wasn't even in the cards. And but in 2016, I started to slowly get, a little bit of equipment here and there. And I was just playing like, music on loudspeakers again. And I didn't have any turntables, but I decided to buy a controller. And I was thinking, man, I could probably, start to do some events here and there or whatever. And then I had a friend that actually started to ask, hey, you want to DJ my wedding? And I was like, nah, I don't know about all that. It's not for me. And then I decided to agree to it, and I actually fell in love with it. Communication's been always pretty good for me, and I felt like, you know what, I think I could do this. And so I was doing some word of mouth private events, kind of behind the scenes. I had a controller, I had got just a mobile setup, a couple of JBL speakers and a sub, and I was on my way. Everything was digital. I already had a lot of the music. I started reconnecting with a few people, and then just like loads of music was coming. I'm like, all right, I think I'm okay. So that's kind of what I've been doing outside a little bit, probably for the last, uh, so about 2017, I want to say I got a little bit more into it. But yeah, 2015, 16, that's when I started slowly doing private events. And now I'm doing them. And yeah, I ended up getting turntables again, probably in 2021. By the way, I got rid of all my wax 20 years ago, so
right.
I
Okay.
didn't even have any, right? So now I'm kind of reliving the collecting again, and it's been really nice, man. And I want to say since 2020, obviously now Twitch has kind of got me to this position to start hanging with, or meeting a lot of people globally, um, bringing back the love of music for record collecting, and simply just having fun here on Twitch, man. I mean, I've met a lot of people. It's been amazing. It's been very positive, and I want to say that's kind of where the journey started with We Beat Is One in 2021.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get to that in a second, but obviously you were doing all these events up to the pandemic. So how did it impact on you with the pandemic back in sort of 2020? And before
Yeah,
before you answer that, let me just say hello to a few people because I think we've just had a raid. I can't quite see who we've had that raid from actually. Let's have a look.
it's like missile, huh?
DJ Missile, yeah. Thank you so much for the raid. Amazing. Nox Naman, welcome to the 45-day community. Igbo Eagle. We are here with DJ Frankie B on the 45-day show, and we are talking about a lot about his sort of lead up to this point, and lead up to events and things like that. And he's given us some background in terms of musical influences and stuff. But we've got to the point of sort of the pandemic. He's doing events, having got back into DJing. But yeah, tell us what happened then. You're doing these private events, weddings, things like that. How did it impact with the pandemic sort of locking down on all of that?
Yeah, it impacted. It impacted. I wasn't doing them, quite frankly. We're talking like 8 to 10 a year. I wasn't doing them every weekend or weekend and week out. But it does impact. It did impacted in a sense of people weren't probably willing to do events, and also there was a lot of limitations where people had limited amount of people, limited amount of funds, limited amount of there's certain rules for limitations on the venues. It was just tough. People were trying to do outdoor events, and it was really tough for them to even do that. So I think overall, DJ wise, it was like our, especially at a private event like a wedding, you want to get people on the dance floor that'll be all together. And the rules are for COVID not to have people together, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a little bit of definitely a little bit of an impact, especially those that were planning. There were a couple of cancellations, and there were some that I did that were being creative as well. So I actually did host some things in 2020 and 2021, probably when you weren't supposed to be honest, but
Okay.
they did get them done, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you end up getting turntables again in about 21. And you're starting to sort of build your collection, having sold it all 20 years ago. Were you finding that you were going back and rebuying stuff that you used to own, or were you just buying new stuff that you were discovering?
That was the interesting part, man. I have a local record shop here in where I live. It's like 10 minutes down the road. And I had a buddy that told me, hey, actually, he was in the talent show as well. He's just a couple of years older than me. We've been friends forever. Um, but I have a buddy, and he was like, hey, why don't you go check out Stack's record shop in where you're at? And I was like, nah, I don't know. And I went in there, and I'm like, whoa, this is dope. And for some odd reason, I kind of wanted to start just with classics, and we're talking like soul or funk or disco. And his shop is all about that. He has 45s to LPs to 12-inch singles, all of it. And so we were just thinking, I was thinking, you know what, this is kind of where I want to start. Instead of just going you know right back into house music, I kind of want to just start back and just get like tons of classics, tons of you know must have type records from those days of the 60s, 70s, even oldies. Me and my wife were big on oldies as far as soul. And so, yeah, I felt like that was where I want to start. And then I just fell in love with it. I honestly didn't really go out of that. I was doing soul, funk, disco, even jazz funk, and that's really where a lot of my collection is now. I have very, very low amount of house records. We're talking maybe 20 or 30. But yeah, all of my records are jazz, funk, soul, disco, boogie. That's what I collect now.
Amazing. Amazing. And when did it come about, and how did you discover Twitch and then sort of get onto the platform?
Yeah, so at the time that I was kind of introduced of the private events, I was also convinced of, hey, you should stream on Facebook on Fridays during 2020, right? Everything's shut down, there's nothing to do. Everybody's drinking as much as they can every week. your,
Yeah.
your tolerance of alcohol just skyrocketed, so people were having fun online. Um, so that was the introduction. I had a couple of buddies that were playing, or at least I saw them going live, and I was like, man, I could probably go live for a little while. We're doing it from the phone, right? So you can hear the kids yelling in the background, you can hear all the background noises. You're getting shut down all the time, and I was switching it up. Like every Friday would be a different thing. So like play Prince, or I'd be playing 80s, or I'd be playing funk, or I'd be playing house or whatever. And I would just switch it up just to have a good time. And it started to lift off a little bit, and people are going, hey, instead of going to Facebook, why don't you go to Twitch? I'm like, dude, I can't get on another platform. There's just no way. You know what I mean? I don't have the time for it. I don't want to build up this whole community and do all these things. And yeah, I guess we're here now. So that's kind of how I started in 2020. It was really just having fun online, and kind of connecting with some of the old DJs from all those days. And then, yeah, I got introduced to Twitch.
And so, how did it start from there? I mean, did you just start streaming straight away? Did you spend some time sort of watching the community? Were you invited on raid trains? How did you go about the actual process of starting?
Yeah. So early, so I streamed in 2020 a couple of times, maybe a handful of times. And I didn't really like it because I just didn't have all the equipment. I was like, man, the technical things about this, setting up OBS or trying to do it from Streamlabs OBS and all these. I was like, I just don't have the time to learn all of this stuff, right? It was just like kind of intimidating, to be honest.
It's like going
And
back to school, wasn't it? I mean, we had to learn OBS, like you say, stream elements, timers, so much to learn
yeah,
um, about broadcasting, like we're doing now. We're broadcasting a show. It's ridiculous. But yeah, it's crazy what we had to learn to even get going.
yeah, man. I mean, it started with just trying to do it from my phone, and I had a little bit of a, you know, kind of a, uh, I guess just my phone. I was trying to keep everyone quiet. It was, and then the chat I couldn't see. I had to figure out how to get a different, maybe laptop or a different iPad to run the chat. And then being on the mic was new, not new because I was doing it with the events, but at the same time, I didn't realize how much you needed to talk as well. So getting a kind of a comfortable sense of that was tough. But yeah, then all of a sudden I decided, hey, I'm gonna go. My friend invited me to a raid train, which was a house music one, and then all of a sudden I had a green screen. All of a sudden I had a new gadget for Twitch, a second laptop, a different mic or a different mic stand. And my wife is probably like getting, I'm driving her nuts with all the Amazon boxes. And so it's just one of those things where it's just like gradually the stream enhanced, getting different type of overlays, getting different types of videos to stream with the green screen. And then that's kind of how it started. But yeah, I started with ray trains. I started to see how it actually, which was weird, Twitch actually connected me to the DJ world again, you
Yeah.
know, between vinyl collectors, between the digital world of house music community. It connected me like so fast. Within a year, I was like, oh shit, we used to play at this club, 20 years ago. Oh shit, we used to, play at this spot, and we used to party together. We have the same group of friends, so it's like this online version of going out again. And so that's what it was weird about Twitch, is like it kind of connected me very quickly within the first year.
Yeah, and it's quite an addictive thing, isn't it? Because you then think that you've got a direct contact with your community. I mean, this is one thing, obviously talking to guests and all the rest of it, but you've got a direct interaction with your community through the chat, which you don't get on other social media platforms in the same way. I mean, I know Mixcloud, we're streaming to Mixcloud, we're streaming to Instagram, and there's ability to chat, but it's not quite Twitch. I don't know, there's something about it. And I think that's what's made it important for us and been allowed us to sort of build these communities, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I've had many conversations with DJs that are not on Twitch, which have very strong opinions about Twitch DJs, and I've had conversations with people that are on Twitch as well as doing gigs. And I will say that the people that are not DJing on Twitch and have the strong opinions, they're not understanding, or at least they're not the concept of, it's a whole different way of DJing, right?
Yeah.
In the clubs, you're not on the mic 100% of the time. You're not showing engagement, talking personally about things. You're not doing all those things. And on the flip side of that, when you go into DJing in the real world, obviously you have to switch it up to be a little bit more mute and kind of do your job and get a feel for the crowd. You still have to do the same thing in the chat, I guess, to get that sense of engagement, to get people engaged and making sure that your crowd or your audience is engaged, but it's very different. And so it's really funny actually talking to a lot of the DJs that are doing either or both. But I will say that Twitch has done tons of things. I mean, it's connected me with a lot of people, but also it's bright. It's actually opened up a lot of doors as well. I've gotten a lot of gigs out of Twitch, which is pretty awesome. So I've been able to network with people, get gigs privately, or even started doing vinyl gigs again, which is really nice. So it's been nice, man. It's been very positive.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same account that everyone gives. It's been a really positive thing if you've got on here. And there's people who sort of hung around and have been doing it I think we've been on for about 4.5 years now. Some people a little bit longer, some people a little bit less, but it's interesting to see different people coming through constantly, and it's still being a draw. And especially now we've got the DJ program, which is a whole another thing. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Before that, let's talk about you. You said you'd been on raid trains. When did there come a point that you put on your own raid train?
Yeah, so I was connected with about 3 or 4 different raid trains. The Junction was one of them. Shout out to Marlino that ran that one. And then I also joined Raid MX Friends, which was another one. And then also the Buy High Crew, which was another one. And so I guess within that group of that community, 3 or 4 different affiliations per se, um, I was like, man, they're doing this weekly. And you kind of join things and you're like, it could be ran better, or you could maybe do it yourself, and you don't realize how much work it is you're really signing up for.
It's a lot of work, yeah.
Yeah, but then you're like, hey, why don't I, do it, maybe try it for a week, see if I like it, or every week, see what happens, and then try to have different DJs. So what I did was I think one of them that was doing it wasn't they were kind of taking a break, and so I decided to just go and say, hey, I'll start one up and doing mine on a weekly. So every Thursday, I started We Beat as One, which was a house music raid train originally, and that was in 2021. A lot of the community that I was mentioning through those affiliations just naturally just jumped on board, and then their communities and the new communities that we were building was also a part of the We Beat as One start, and so that's really how We Beat as One started. It actually started on a weekly house music raid train on Thursdays.
Amazing. And how sort of long were the raid trains that you were doing it?
So I wanted the one thing that I liked about the raid trains that I actually did was I wanted to make sure that one, I personally invited you. That was one of the things that I like to do is just personally reach out, kind of get to know you as a streamer a little bit. Make sure that we're you're available to stream, but also just not throwing out an invite and then everybody signed up. That was one of the things I didn't want to do. And then secondly was um I was trying to do it in a sense of I wanted to be present for everybody's stream. So
Yeah,
trying to get all of the time zones in place is always so terrible because you want to see these streamers across the pond. You want to see, but you're not up at 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning here,
yeah.
right? So that's the tough part. But that was the other thing. So we did when I did it, it was from 9 or 10 in the morning all the way in through to like 11 o'clock at night, my time for the
Yeah.
stream. It wasn't 24/7.
Yeah, that makes sense because that's the sort of times that you're going to be awake. Even if you're doing stuff or working, you can sort of be lurking, checking in on people and all of that. Because, yeah, I mean, during the pandemic, when we were at home, you could just watch all the time. And I remember watching hundreds of hours of streams. But yeah, it's been interesting how things have progressed. So that sort of led into doing a festival, didn't it? The sort of weekly house raid train. You ended up doing a festival. So tell us about how that came about.
Yeah, so one thing about the We Beat as One festival, it was or what We Beat as One weekly raid train. It was also an opportunity to be okay, or be open to people that wanted to share their fundraisers or share their whatever they were pushing. I was good with it. If they wanted, like, say, let's just say one Thursday somebody said, hey, I got something that's happening and I'm doing a fundraiser for something, is it okay that we push it? And I would be open to it. It wouldn't be mine, it would just be theirs. And that was something that was kind of a little bit a part of We Beat as One, is that we're all coming together, but there was also some times where we had a specific cause that we were, pushing for, or collaborating with different affiliations. So we've done that too. So from 2021 to probably late 2022, it was about a year. I decided to end it, but it was a weekly deal, and we were open to that. 2023, I was a part of. Once I ended it, another crew, same community, started Thisco Thursdays, and they were doing theirs every Thursday as well. And those are all my buddies, so it was just like a kind of a new swap, same people, but amazing train that was really successful, by the way. and they were doing it as well, and they took the weekly deal. And then in 2023, they actually stopped a little bit or slowed down. And I decided, hey, I kind of want to bring We Beat as One, but I want to do it just for a week span. I don't want to do the weekly, train. It's a lot for me. So that's kind of how We Beat as One festival came out. I wanted to do a week long, train. I also wanted, a week long festival or an event, and then also I signed up for a marathon. I've been kind of doing things to mess with, for or to support the cause of like fighting the fight for cancer for since 2007, since my grandfather died. So I just wanted to do something again, and I signed up for a marathon in last November, and so we decided to do We Beat as One festival to raise money for that cause, and that was through the American Cancer Society.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about your grandfather, but it's sadly cancer is a big part of our lives. As I said at the beginning of the show, it takes a lot of lives, it impacts on a lot of lives, and a lot of the time it just doesn't seem fair. It's one of those things that regardless what you do, it can get you, and that's why it's so important to try and support causes that are fighting the fight. To try and one day, hopefully, have some sort of cure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I know that there's just so many organizations out there, and it's just like, grab a hold of the ones that feel comfortable with. And honestly, We Beat is One festival last year. The whole point of it was just to have fun. It would to collaborate and connect people. It wasn't about truly, I mean, we're going to do it for the cause, but if we could raise a few dollars, so be it. It's more about connecting the people, having a positive experience, having fun. It's truly always been about that. It's always been about the music for us, or at least for me. And so I was just hopeful to be able to give somebody the show to showcase their talent and give them some ability to connect with other people. And that's really what it was about.
Yeah, and a lot we had AD and Double P last night, and we were talking about, yes, it's great to raise some money for these charities, but it's also having that discussion. And obviously, you've opened up and explained about your grandfather. Double P was on the show last night. Is saying, lost his dad to cancer. So glad to support this train. And it's just having the conversations, isn't it? Because it comes back to mental health. If you're dealing with someone in your family who's died of cancer, and perhaps you're not talking to people or not explaining how you're feeling, having an event like this where we're talking about cancer openly amongst friends in a safe space, listening to great music, it is another aspect of it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the raising the awareness has always been number one as well. That one thing that I would say is that I've collaborated with other affiliations. I would say shout out to Fred B. We did stuff. We did two different things for Rare Disease Day. The man is all about spreading the awareness, and he taught me a lot about how to fundraise, how to push the message, how to get people together. So I want to give a big shout out to Fred B, man. I think I learned a lot with how he's done things with his organizations, on how he fundraised with Raid Amongst Friends. That gave me a lot of information or different approaches and different styles of how to do things. So definitely give big up for him, because that was something that kind of shaped We Beat as One to what it is today. Last year was that I took bits and pieces and kind of made it my own, but it was a lot of that. And we spread the awareness, we spread the message, and we were successful. We raised $3,000, and we and my company actually did a full match, or a match of $1,500. So we have an employee match program, which is nice. I get to just kind of piggyback on that, and it was
Amazing.
$4,500 raised. Man, it was amazing.
Amazing. So that was obviously last year. Now, just give me a second. Let me try and make sure I can get the video, because there is a sort of video promo that we're going to show for this year's event, which is happening next week. It starts on the 9th of September, doesn't it?
Yeah, Monday, man, it's coming around the corner. I can't believe it.
It
Feels like
all suddenly comes
a
around
lifetime
really
of
quickly.
planning.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, I've got it. Let me see if we can get that on. So, yeah. So here we go. So yeah, tell us a little bit as we're sort of going through the promo. Tell us a little bit about what the event has got coming up in terms of DJs, and obviously there's hundreds of them.
Yeah, so there's about 120 DJs. It's kind of the same format as last year, with just we leveled up. Last year was about 50 something DJs. I had an event at my house to kind of celebrate the finality and the success of the event, which was nice. And I had some people that flew in, so a handful of people. This year we're doing the same thing. Last year was all house music. This year we're doing one house music with Raid Train, and then the other in parallel. We're also doing one that opened up the door for all of my open format, community. As you know, I've been collecting records and playing on raid trains with the vinyl community, and I wanted to just extend an opportunity for all the vinyl community, all of my digital open format community to just come together and have an opportunity to play, and then also increase the amount of people, which would ultimately hope that we can spread the message even further.
Yeah, and obviously, these big events, and we'll come back to planning and how you organize them. But obviously, the more people that can be involved, the better, because, like you say, each one of those people is hopefully putting it on their social media. Other people are sharing it on their stories, because it's really just to say to people, look, even if you can't be there in person, this thing is going on. It's a good thing. We're
Yeah.
supporting a good cause. Share it to your friends and say, look, go and check it out. And I think there's still a huge market of people who don't know what Twitch is. And that's not just DJs, but that's just people in general. People who might have heard of it, but I think it's still known as gamers. Hopefully now, with the DJ program opening it up a little bit, it may start to be a place where people can think, right, let's go and listen to some good DJs. They've got a really cool event going on. And that's where I think Twitch is going, isn't it? It's organizing events or shows to make things interesting for people to come and find you.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you, man. Totally.
Yeah. So organizing 120 DJs. Obviously, I know how I sort of have progressed in terms of sort of putting it in notes on my phone. Then it was like spreadsheets. Now it's using things like Raid Pal. So yeah, how have you been able to organize that many DJs?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I'll just say that. People's time cannot be given back. And so just being open to, trying to see if you want to be able to fit 90 minutes into your day for us. I'm just super fortunate and happy that you all are joining. Um, you know, the house music community, man, it was like feels like that, right? I mean, we done this last year. It was a lot of people that came back, which was nice to see, by the way. And this year, the struggle, or at least a little bit tougher, was trying to reach out to all of the open format community, because it's a mixed bag, and they didn't know about We Beat as one because they weren't part of weekly trains. It was just a one-time deal last year that didn't include them. So that was the little bit tougher, is kind of like re you know bring it to light to people, understand what it is, and see if they'd be willing to play. So I use RavePal. I also behind the scenes have a Google spreadsheet which I kind of track a lot of things with all of the content and the details, and then I finalized it this year, which was new. I finalized it with a Google Doc to just have like a guide for the entire event, hoping that DJs would read it. To be honest, this is very lengthy, right? That's the hard part. Is like, yeah,
Getting
yeah,
people to read.
I want to play it 90 minutes, but yeah, yeah, I'll just sign up. What can I do?
Yeah, yeah.
The
I
guide
think I
that you
think
worked hard on with all the links and the text and there's just like that's in the back burner until the day of you streaming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. But I think, I think a lot of the DJs are very skilled now in being able to do that. I think originally when everyone started, it's like, how do I do an overlay? How do I do this? How do I put that? Whereas now everyone knows, and you just say to people, look, there's an overlay in there, there's an emote, there's an animated emote, there's a little video, and I'm with you. Here's the link. Use whatever you want, and when I've got time, like for our weekly show, which is the Coffee and Donuts, everyone's got their own individual overlay because I've done it once they've been a guest. So it's little things like that. You just build and build, and it's great to have people wanting to play. That's what I love about it.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to keep it as organized as possible to split the raid trains into their own files, and within the shared drive, they're able to go in there. If there's tweaks that we need to make, I'll make them as quick as possible. So all of the admin work, I wanted to take off of everybody. I don't want anybody to stress off that part. So those are the things that kind of people get too hung up on, I feel. But that's one thing that I'll take on, right? And
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
important to me. So one of the other things was that I tried to do this year was create a group chat per day. That's been seeming like it's working okay. As you know, if you have 120 people on a group chat, I mean, you'll be on and on all night and all day, right?
yeah.
So that was something new that I did. I just separated those to lighten up the load on the communication. Hopefully, it doesn't bombard too many people. And then, ultimately, getting people to play was uh, not too hard. Moving around with the schedules is always tougher. Apologies up front if I didn't get back to you when there was a request of trying to get when we already finalized. I know there were some people that came in a little late, so getting the message out. I think I started within like 3 months ago, but DJs don't, a lot of DJs won't even respond until like they know what's going on in 2 months, right? So that's also tough too, is you're trying to plan up front 3 months in advance, but nobody's ready for that. You know what I mean? So that was the challenge. I think a lot of, there was definitely some handful of DJs that I felt bad because I was like, really wanted them a part of it. I reached out to them first, but they just didn't get back to me in time. So unfortunately, just I had to go with my planning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, at some point there's a cut off, and then you've got to get on and get flyers done and out and all the rest of it. So that's fine.
Yep.
Right. A couple more things. DJ program. Obviously, we're about a month into it. What's been your experience? Have you noticed any change? Has it changed how you play?
Yeah, the one thing that's interesting is I've only streamed one time when the DJ program was in, and that was like the first week it was out, and I enrolled. I'm definitely embracing it, um, but yeah, I feel like that people's counts are going up. I'm seeing a lot of the partners that are people that are partner on Twitch having some really big success with being on the front page, which is interesting and nice and
Yeah.
exciting. So I think it's going positive. There's a lot of concerns with the whole list and how things are, but for me personally, I feel like the music that I'm playing, it's not impacting me as much. From the list, I don't think I need to worry about it too much. And then also, I think it's a matter of just like taking it and embracing it, and then seeing where the new features or tools or anything that's coming in with communications to help your stream. So I've been kind of trying to embrace all of the updates and all of the things. I'm bearing with everybody, but I feel like everybody has a lot of concerns with it, and it's valid, right? Especially if you're earning less because of things that'll be happening for you. I can imagine. Personally, it doesn't impact me in a sense because I'm actually, Twitch is something that I'm doing on as a like for fun, right? I'm not looking and relying on that as earnings for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And that makes a huge difference, I think, and it's great again that there is space for everyone on here.
Yeah.
We've got the sort of amazing, huge DJs, and then we've got people who just want to stream because it's something to do. Rather than playing their own records themselves, they just want to stream, and they happen to build a community. But yeah, and the fact as soon as you can take money out of the equation, everything changes, doesn't it? It's then definitely more about fun. It's definitely more about community. It's definitely more about raising money for charity and for causes and things like that. And again, I'm thankful that Twitch has things like the charity donation button that you can set up a charity on your Twitch channel and have it so that people can donate if they like what you're doing or like what you're saying, rather than subscribing, they can add that. So it's great that there's that ability to do that, and we've done with that with a couple of charities here. Right. So tell us some of the, it may be difficult to say, some of the highlights that you've got coming up. Is there any particular streamers that you're really pleased to have on? Is there any particular new streamers that you're happy to have on the show?
Yeah, connecting with Marky Fresh and kind of the Raiders of the Lost Ark crew and yourself and the 45 Day crew and just like all of it just brought to me like how much I was collecting vinyl. I was starting to play vinyl on stream, and it just kind of introduced me into a lot of DJs that were playing vinyl, and it was great. I mean, yeah, Mix, I have a lot to thank for that. He was the one that kind of said, "Hey, you're buying vinyl. Why don't you start playing it?" So started playing, and he's been definitely a big supporter as well as a good friend. So shouts out to him, Kyle Yamix. Marky Fresh has done things amazing every week on Wednesdays, where we've all connected through all of his list of amazing DJs and what he's doing on Wednesdays for Raiders of the Lost Art. So I want to say, adding some of the good, some of the there's so many good streamers and DJs on this lineup, by the way, but and I'm very appreciative of them all. But a couple of the name out just to single out that I was really happy that they joined, especially since I'm a big fan. So for instance, I want to say DJ Epic, he's kind of been there since day one. Amazing guy. Definitely I learned a lot. Educate, he's like giving me education every time I stream or every time I catch his stream. So a big shout out to him. He's joining this coming Wednesday night to close out part of his wind down show. Definitely shout out to Hydro and Genie, man. I recently met them. And I was juiced that Hydro wanted to join. I was juiced that Genie wanted to join. So appreciate them. Definitely big love to them. And Sweet Tooth, man, I love Sweet Tooth. Super chill guy, and I really enjoyed his stream. Enjoy his streams, so it's great to have him join as well. And shout out to my man Global Groover. I probably come to his stream every Sunday. I just recently became a mod on his channel, probably. But yeah, I mean, having him, Chris, part of it. Me and him did a collaboration actually recently where we did a tribute to the Paradise Garage, and it was amazing. It was a great experience. He's an awesome dude. So shout out to Global Groover as well. Um, yeah, I mean, there's so many DJs, man, and the house community just continues to impress me, just by trying to keep the community alive, making sure that you're doing your part to just support or be positive. It's been really nice. So I want to say out of those guys, definitely probably the ones to single out. Definitely yourself, man. It's great to have you on too. 45 day,
Well,
Criztoz.
I mean, yeah, thank you for the invite. I think it was a little while ago now. I can sort of plan a couple of months because I book my events, and to be honest, like Coffee and Donuts, my weekly show, I've got almost booked up till sort of the end of the year. But that's just, yeah, I have to do it. Otherwise, it's just insane. It's difficult. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, okay. So one last thing then. So it's 9th to the 14th of September. Is that right?
Yes, it's gonna be Monday through Saturday. So it'll be Monday through Friday, really, and then Saturday there's a couple of streams, kind of in the morning time, and through the afternoon, and then at the afternoon, both raid trains will raid my channel, and I have a slew of DJs here that we're gonna party and have a good time and just kind of celebrate having a good time for the event. I mean, really, just to I'm gonna have a big, bunch of food. I don't know if you know this, Christos, but I'm a big foodie. So I'm
Okay.
always about cooking, and so I'm looking forward to having all the fam here and barbecuing it up and having a good time, but streaming as well. So we'll have like Mix will be here. Couple of I think Sweet Tooth is gonna stop by. We got some people in the locally they're coming in, and I got a couple people like my buddy Bradley B. It's coming in from Vancouver. JD Vasquez coming in from Florida. So we got a good sized community, probably about 40, 50 people will be here on that Saturday to have a good time.
Sounds amazing, and that's great that the raid trains effectively will sort of combine in one place, and obviously you're going to have almost an IRL event, but that you're streaming. It sounds like
Yeah,
it's
it's
going to be
funny
great
you
with all these
mentioned that,
DJs.
man. Is this year I was gonna plan to just have an go get a venue and do this with having DJs come in and play, try to figure out to stream it and all of that at a in real life gig. But other things we're taking priority. So if things go well and this whole thing continues to do what it's doing right now, next year, and Twitch is still rocking next year, I feel like I'll definitely try to target doing it in real life, and maybe even have one night be vinyl and then the other one be kind of a house music thing. That would be amazing.
Yeah, yeah, or two rooms, one room vinyl, one room house music. You could do that as well.
Yeah, that'd be probably actually I was planning to do that with just like 8 DJs, 9 DJs, but I think that's probably the way to go. Then you don't have to worry about 2 different nights.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay. One quick point here from where is he? DJ Stepdaddy. Any suggestions to get on more people's radars and get invited to streams? Just reach out to people. I think, I mean, it's, we have as much reach as we can see, and obviously whenever I see a new 45s DJ, I'm always going to reach out to them. But there may be people who I don't know about, or people who have seen something I've done and know someone. So yeah, always reach out. Most raid train organizers are more than happy to get people involved, and fill not fill slots, but obviously to have people on and get new streamers involved. So yeah, just reach out, DJ Stepdaddy, and send me a message. Let me know when you stream again, and then we'll see if we can get you on something. We can go from there. Right.
Yeah, same for me. Find
Yeah,
me on IG, find me on Twitch, hit me up, and definitely I'll try to check you out and see what's next and what's in the horizons. And always just connect yourself. Connect yourself with going people's streams. Try to see if there's anything that anything coming up. It might not even just be something we're organizing. Maybe somebody else is. We can refer you to as well.
yeah, just come in the chat, and obviously if it's a raid train that you think you'd be interested in playing on and whatever, just ask, who organizes it, who's involved in this, and then just reach out to them. But yeah, that's great. Frankie B, it's been great. It's been really interesting finding out more about you, about your history, your musical journey, finding out more about the raid train, the charity, the event, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. A lot of busy weekends, and it's great that September's all about sort of doing charity events, and it's great that we can be part of it. So thank you again for the invite. Thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate you guys, and always a good time catching your guys' events. And I look forward to more of these, maybe sync up and chatting, man. I always had a good time. Thanks, Criztoz.
Definitely. Cool. If you just hang on there, we're going to end the stream. We're going to go and see Mr. Crate Digger, who today has appeared on the front page of Twitch. And I think just before we started was on about 2,150 viewers. I think he's on about 1,300. But let's go join the party, see what's going on there. But yeah, take it easy, everyone. We're going to raid.
See you guys.